Imagine waking up one morning with a strange, unsettling feeling, a sense that the life you've been living might not actually be your own. What if every choice you've made, every belief you hold, even your deepest desires, weren't really born from your true self, but were shaped by outside influences, expectations, conditioning, the hidden pressures of society? Let us pause for a second and consider how much of your identity actually reflects who you are at your core, and how much is just a mask you've carefully put on to fit in. Have you ever felt like you're just playing a part, following a script that was handed to you by your family, your upbringing, or even the quiet fears that linger in the background? Today, we're diving into one of Carl Jung's most powerful ideas, the notion that life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. But what does that really mean? Is finding yourself just about becoming more self-aware, or is there a deeper, even more transformative process involved? Stick with me, because as we peel back the layers of what shapes your identity, you'll start to see why most people never actually find themselves, and how you can break free. The realization we'll end with is the most important of all, and it could completely change how you see yourself and how you move through the world. Carl Jung was a pioneer in psychology, a thinker who looked beyond mainstream theories to explore the vast, hidden depths of the unconscious mind. Unlike many of his peers, Jung didn't think mental health was just about fitting in or adjusting to society's standards. Instead, he saw psychological growth as a journey, a process he called individuation, where you become your most authentic self. But here's the truth. Most people never take that journey. They get stuck in versions of themselves that have been molded by others. They chase approval, success, or the comfort of blending in, rarely questioning if the life they're living is actually aligned with who they are. Deep down, though, there's often a quiet restlessness, a nagging sense that something is missing. Jung believed that real life begins when we stop running from ourselves. But before we can talk about what it truly means to find yourself, we need to understand why so many people never do. From the moment we're born, we're shaped and conditioned. We're given names, roles, and a set of rules about what is acceptable and what isn't. We're rewarded for fitting in and punished in big or small ways for stepping out of line. This process is so gradual and subtle that we almost never stop to question it. We adapt. We conform, and bit by bit, we learn to hide the parts of ourselves that don't fit with those expectations. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you expressed yourself freely, only to be told to be realistic, or stop being so sensitive, or that certain feelings or dreams were just too much? Over time, you learned to hide those parts away, to tuck them out of sight. And in doing so, you started to build what Jung called the persona, the mask you show to the world. The persona helps us get by in society. It lets us connect, navigate relationships, and find acceptance. But there's a catch. The more we identify with this mask, the more disconnected we become from our real selves. We start to believe we are the mask, forgetting that something deeper is still there. On the flip side, there's another part of ourselves, the shadow. If the persona is what we show the world, the shadow is everything we hide. Our fears, our unspoken desires, our vulnerabilities, and even our hidden strengths. And here's the thing. The shadow doesn't just go away because we ignore it. It lingers beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts and behaviors in ways we often don't realize. The parts we reject tend to show up in unexpected ways, sometimes as projections. Ever found yourself intensely disliking someone for reasons you can't quite explain? Or getting unusually triggered by someone else's behavior? Jung believed that when we're disturbed by qualities in others, it's often because those very traits exist within us, buried in our own shadow. But what if I told you that the shadow isn't your enemy? That within it lies the key to real self-discovery? Jung's insight was that growth doesn't come from eliminating the shadow, but from integrating it. By facing what we've denied in ourselves, we unlock a deeper source of authenticity and freedom. That's where the real journey starts. So are you ready to face who you really are, to break free from the illusions that have shaped you? Because what comes next could challenge everything you think you know about yourself and open the door to a life that is truly yours. Most people assume they already know who they are. They define themselves by their name, their job, their background, or their experiences. But what if your identity is way more complex than you think? What if the you know is just the tip of the iceberg, a surface-level construct, a fraction of a much deeper reality? Jung believed that inside each of us is a vast hidden world, an inner landscape filled with forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, unacknowledged desires, and unexplored potential. To truly find yourself isn't about building a new identity from scratch. It is about discovering what is already inside you, waiting to be brought to light. Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt a deep, unexplainable longing for something more? A sense that a greater version of yourself is just out of reach? That's not just your imagination. It's the unconscious mind calling you forward. Jung called this process individuation. He believed real fulfillment comes not from fitting in, but from integrating every part of ourselves, the good, the bad, the light, and the dark. But before you can integrate, you have to confront. And that's where most people stop. Because facing yourself is uncomfortable. It means looking at the parts you'd rather ignore, questioning your long-held beliefs, and facing inner conflicts head-on. Think about how often we avoid silence, filling every spare moment with work, social media, or distractions, anything to avoid sitting alone with our thoughts. This isn't accidental. It's a defense mechanism, a way to avoid the tough questions that bubble up when things get quiet. But no matter how much we distract ourselves, those hidden parts don't disappear. They show up as anxiety, self-sabotage, unfulfilling relationships, or just a nagging sense of feeling lost. Jung believed our unconscious is always speaking to us, but we've learned to tune it out. If you start paying attention, though, you'll see patterns, how old wounds influence your choices, how suppressed desires shape your behavior, how your greatest fears often hold your most important lessons. Let's look at a common example: fear of rejection. So many people go through life terrified of being judged or left out. They seek approval, avoid conflict, and hold back their true thoughts to keep the peace. But where does that fear really come from? Is it just about others' opinions, or does it go deeper? Maybe to a childhood moment of feeling unseen or unworthy. Jung would say that fear is a shadow aspect, something you haven't fully recognized in yourself. Until you bring it into the light, it will quietly steer your actions. But here's the amazing part: once you face those hidden aspects, they lose their grip on you. Imagine living without the fear of judgment, speaking your truth, making choices that truly resonate with you. That's the power of individuation. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more of who you already are. So how do you start? How do you uncover the unconscious forces shaping your life? Jung believed in the power of symbols, dreams, and introspection. He saw dreams as messages from the deeper self, revealing hidden truths. He also encouraged creative expression, art, writing, music, as a way to explore and integrate the unconscious. But maybe the most vital step is simple awareness. The moment you start questioning your own thoughts and beliefs, you're already on the path to transformation. When you stop running from discomfort and start facing it with curiosity, you begin to reclaim your true self. Here's the hard truth: most people remain strangers to themselves. They follow paths laid out for them, suppress their nature, and never realize their greatest strength comes from embracing every part of who they are. But you don't have to be one of those people. You have the power to break free from old patterns, to let go of fear and conditioning, and to step into your full, unapologetic self. And in the next part, we're going even deeper. We'll uncover the hidden archetypes inside you, ancient patterns buried in your psyche that hold the key to unlocking your greatest potential. What you're about to learn could change the way you see yourself, forever. If finding yourself was as simple as making a decision, everyone would already be living in alignment with their true nature. But as we've seen, it's a much more complicated process. It's not just about deciding who you want to be. It is about uncovering the forces that have shaped you, facing the parts you've rejected, and integrating them into a whole, authentic identity. So, why are we drawn to certain behaviors, desires, or fears? Why do we repeat the same mistakes, fall into the same patterns, even when we're trying to change? Jung had a revolutionary answer. He believed that inside every human being are universal patterns, deep psychological blueprints he called archetypes. Archetypes are ancient, collective images stored in what Jung called the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche shared by all people, inherited from our ancestors. These archetypes shape our identities, our relationships, and how we see the world. Look at the stories told throughout history, the hero's journey, the wise mentor, the shadowy villain, the innocent child. These aren't just characters, they're psychological forces within all of us, playing out in our own lives. Take the hero archetype. It's the part of you that longs for purpose, seeks out challenges, and wants to become a better version of yourself. But the hero is always paired with the shadow, the part that holds your fears, weaknesses, and untapped potential. In myths, the hero has to confront the shadow, a monster, an enemy, or a huge challenge, before they can truly grow. Think about your own life. Have you ever known you needed to change, but something inside you resisted? Maybe you had the chance to step up, but self-doubt or fear held you back. That's the hero and the shadow wrestling inside you. The mistake most people make is trying to push the shadow away instead of understanding it. Jung taught that transformation comes from integrating the shadow, not rejecting it, but learning from it. If you struggle with self-doubt, don't ignore it. Ask where it comes from. Is it really yours, or was it planted in you by past experiences or others' expectations? What lessons might it hold? Maybe your doubt hides a strength, like humility, introspection, or empathy. Once we see our struggles as messages from the unconscious, everything changes. But archetypes go far beyond the hero and the shadow. There are many more, each playing a role in shaping your identity. One of the most important is the anima and animus archetype. Jung believed that within every man is a hidden feminine side, the anima, and within every woman, a hidden masculine side, the animus. This isn't about gender, it's about balancing energies within us. The anima represents intuition, emotion, creativity, and deep connection with the unconscious. The animus stands for logic, structure, discipline, and assertiveness. When these energies are balanced, we feel whole. When they're out of balance, we experience inner conflict. For example, a man who rejects his anima might struggle to express emotions, seeing vulnerability as weakness. A woman who rejects her animus might have trouble asserting herself, feeling uneasy about taking charge. But when we embrace these energies, they become powerful strengths. This brings us to one of Jung's greatest insights. To find yourself, you must embrace all parts of who you are, the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the known and the unknown. Individuation isn't about becoming someone else, it's about becoming whole. But there's one last piece to the puzzle, one final realization that might be the most powerful of all. Because the biggest obstacle to finding yourself isn't just fear, self-doubt, or outside conditioning. It's something even deeper, woven into how we see reality itself. And in the next part, we'll uncover it, What you're about to hear could change everything you believe about yourself, and maybe even your life. So far, we've explored the hidden forces shaping your identity, the masks you wear, the shadows you hide, and the archetypes at play within you. But now, let's confront the deepest illusion of all, the illusion of self. Most people assume their identity is fixed, a single, unchanging self, shaped by memories and experience. But Jung, along with many philosophers and mystics, realized something radical. The self isn't static. It's fluid, always evolving, and far greater than we've been led to believe. What if the you identify with is just a fragment of something much bigger? What if the person you think you are is just one expression of a limitless consciousness, evolving over generations, carrying inherited wisdom and experience? Jung explored this idea with the concept of the self, not the small, ego-driven self that clings to labels and fears, but the true self, the totality of who you are beyond the illusions of identity. This realization is both freeing and scary because it means the story you tell yourself, your fears, your limits, your beliefs, isn't the whole truth. It's just a temporary framework built by your mind. Here is the most powerful truth. You are not just an isolated being moving through life. You're part of a vast, interconnected field of consciousness, carrying the wisdom of generations, the depths of the unconscious, and the potential for transformation beyond your imagination. So why do we feel limited? Why do we suffer or doubt? The answer lies in the ego. The ego isn't the enemy. It is just the part of your mind that creates a sense of separation, drawing boundaries and keeping you tethered to familiar patterns. While the ego has its purpose, it's also the biggest barrier to true self-discovery. In reality, you're not limited to a single identity. You're constantly evolving. And the moment you let go of who you think you are, you open yourself up to endless possibilities. So how do you go beyond the illusion of self? Jung offered a path, but it takes courage, deep reflection, and a willingness to let go of everything you thought you knew. First, embrace the unknown. Most people fear uncertainty, but that's where growth lives. When you stop resisting the mysteries within you and lean into them with curiosity, you see yourself and the world with fresh eyes. Second, let go of labels. You're not just your name, your job, your past, or your personality. You're something far beyond definition. When you loosen your grip on fixed identities, you create space for something greater to emerge. Third, listen to your unconscious. Your dreams, instincts, and intuitions aren't random. They're messages from the self, guiding you toward wholeness. The more you pay attention, the more you'll notice patterns, synchronicities, and signs pointing to your true path. And finally, surrender to the process. Finding yourself isn't a finish line you cross and then move on. It is an ongoing journey, an unfolding of deeper truths. Here's the ultimate revelation. You were never truly lost. The self you've been seeking has always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. So the choice is yours. Will you keep living as a fragment of your true self, bound by old fears and illusions? Or will you step boldly into the unknown, embracing the vast, limitless being you were meant to become? Because life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself, and now you know the way. Thanks for watching.